Sandwiches here. You finished yet?
Look at that.
He's burning a bit rich. Say? Oi, oi. Now.
Hello and welcome dear skill modelers to my small hobby YouTube channel. My name is Tomo and today we're going to be looking at a Renault 5 Alpine. Wow! For my American viewers, this might be a little bit confusing because they do not probably know about this car, but this car was very popular in Europe in the late 70s, early 80s, especially in Slovenia. I remember as a child there were loads of them on the streets and I have been in one. Last time I was in one, I was, I think, 4 years ago. One of my friends had a car, a very old Renault 5, kind of a beat up Renault 5, and I sat inside and was, like a nostalgic thing. But these were a very popular cars because they were very good on the road. They had good handling, and they were hatchback, which was a relatively new concept, I think, at that time, and they were not that expensive to buy. And this Alpine car is actually a beefed up version of the original car, so it has more horsepower, more torque, and is just all around better car. As far as I know, they debuted in America too in 1976, and they were known as the Le Car. So go figure. This model was made by Italeri, and it was a reboxed version of this model, which is also a Renault 5, but this one is like a rally car, and this one is more of a everyday driver for common people. They're basically almost the same kits. This one has a little less parts than this one, and it's just nicely presented, as you will see in the box in a few minutes. And these are the specs, by the way. As far as the part count goes, it's not that heavy on the parts, so I think that even a novice can tackle this one because it's a very small car, this big. Like per usual, I will give you some information on the car and we will dive into the box. Oui? The Renault 5 is a real icon of French automotive world. The small car developed by Renault was produced from the beginning of the 1970s to the first half of the 80s, and it rapidly achieved extraordinary commercial success in several countries. The most relevant success factor was a very good mix between functionality, appealing design, reliability, and smartness. From the chassis of Renault 5 was developed the sportier version Alpine that was categorized by high standard in terms of performance for a small urban car. It adopted an air-cooled 1397cc four-cylinder engine capable of delivering 93 horsepower. Furthermore, several new solutions were used on the Alpine, as the braking system with front discs and the rear drums, or the use of innovative materials. Renault 5 is a small compact car with very good performance, especially in acceleration, and good driving ability. Okay, so this is a nice little box, very cool box art, as you can see. I really like the whole Alpine scene and the blue car. And by the way, you can paint this one in their black as well, because they were very popular in this color as well. So these are all the information on the box that you see. Oh, you see Renault 5 and the police car. And on the back there's nothing. So let us open the box. So the first thing that we're gonna take a look is the body of the car. It is fairly thick plastic on the bottom, but kind of thin on the top. The body is not really sturdy, so it's kind of flexible, so you probably will be able to bend it over the chassis. It is all blue. It's actually a little bit less of a blue than you see on the video right now. The camera kind of throws off the color scheme a little bit, but it's a blue car anyway. Detail wise, you have some details on the back here where there are like air exhausts on the sides, and of course you have the panel lines where the doors meet the body of the frame, and yeah, there's some exhaust or actually intake vents in here, so not hugely detailed. Other exterior pieces are here, which you have, you know, the front fenders, the boot or the back door, and the hood, the car, and of course the engine bay compartment, the wheel arches here, all in the color of the main body, which is good if you don't want to paint it. This white sprue contains, as you can see, the back seats, wheels, although actually the rims, the exhaust system, some side mirrors, and some engine parts which are just cast in this white plastic. The quality of this plastic is very known to me because Italeri in the past, yeah, well, the quality wise it wasn't that good. As you can see from this little sprue as well, if I can focus here, you can see around the mirrors there's like some nasty flashing going on, which you're gonna have to clean off. And I don't think that this is supposed to be there, this little bump from the ejection molder. I think you have to sand off this because I don't remember they having this sort of bumps in the mirrors, but I might be wrong, but I don't think it's there. It was supposed to be there. So some sanding will be required. The seats are molded, you know, pretty standard, nothing that important, nothing wow struck. On the sides you have some flashing, but it's not going to be visible once you put it in. As far as the rims go, well, there's another problem. Well, see, the sprue broke during shipment of the process and kind of left a little flat edge here. So this might be a common problem on all kits. And again, there's a little flashing here, and the plastic feels kind of cheap, to be honest. But you know, most of this stuff it's not going to be seen anyway, so you know, there's that. Last sprue that we're going to take a look at is the black sprue, which contains everything else basically. So we have, what do we have? We have the seats here with the injection pin marks, which can be covered by this little cover, seat back cover, but again you have to sand it down, as you can see the pins again here. The plastic itself is, it does feel like very cheap, very not very, you know, high quality stuff. But if you're used to Italeri or Revell, this is, you know, familiar terrain. But if you're building something else, it's probably kind of cheap. Well, the dashboard is in one big solid piece, which is, you know, good. You don't have to assemble it too much. But then again, it was a really complex dashboard to begin with. There are some details, as you can see from this little video of mine. Just go closer, if it's gonna focus. Yes, it is. See, some vents, the radio hole. I don't think the radio came standard with this car. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it didn't. Chassis, what we have here? Oh, the engine comes in two parts. It's decent. It's decently detailed. We have some other engine parts and the wipers and, you know, brakes with calipers on them. The radiator has a little hole in the middle. I don't think it's supposed to be there, because I don't know if the radiators are supposed to have this big hole. But funnily enough, you have the fan assembly on the back, so, you know, go figure. And then some drive belts. And what's this, the battery? Yeah, that's the battery. Plastic, like I said, it feels a little cheap, and it is a little bit rough on some parts. So sanding is definitely going to be required. Not huge amount, but some. So, you know, the motor head, pretty good. Oh, and the interior trim on the doors, that's really basic. It's just like I remember it. It's not really that fancy, but you know, that's the whole thing. Okay, the last thing are the rubber, well actually the two last things are the clear parts, which are in this bag, and the tires. I didn't take them out, but they're soft, they're very rubbery, so that's good. They're not attached together like some other kits, like, you know, where you have like this sprue like in the middle and the tires are attached to it, which it's kind of annoying because then you have to cut it out and then you see this little splinter and it's never coming out. So that's really a good thing that they didn't do that here. It has threads, so you can see them. Very last sprue is this little transparent sprue. I didn't take it from the bag because I don't want to damage it, of course. And at first glance, it's pretty clear. It's not foggy. If you put some lacquer or if you dump it into lacquer, I think it's gonna be just fine. You have all in the front headlights, but I don't think these are supposed to be here because this sprue is basically the same as the one in the rally version, because you have the front, you know, fog lights. I think these are just the regular front and the back lights, and then you have you know, the front window, the back window, and the side windows, and some other. These are the fog lights for the road legal car, and these are supposed to be the spotlights or however you call them. I don't know. I really don't. But you know, it's there. You know it's here. So that's the whole thing. So moving along. The decals. Okay, so the decals on this bad boy are as follows. They have some stripy things depending on which model you decide to make, which color scheme you go for. So the red is for the black and the silver is for the blue. Of course, with a car like this, you don't have to follow the paint scheme exactly. I mean, you can use your imaginations, for Christ's sakes. But you know, they're just guidelines. And then you have the French, the Italian, and the Deutsch markings. And I do believe the license plates are German, which is interesting. I don't know which these are. Are they French? I don't recognize these two license plates, but one of these must be French and one of them from Italian. So, any hoot. You have the dashboard here on top. As you can see, it's pretty nicely printed. It's not high quality, but it's a nice detail. It's a little bit offset. Well, now that I say it, yeah, it's a little bit offset. So, you know, even on the decal department, it's a bit lacking. But it's a cheap model, so nobody's gonna care. So yeah, these are all the decals. The very last thing is the manual. So it comes in a spread form, like Tamiya type manual. Here you can see all these instructions for the assembly, and you can see it's pretty simple and straightforward. It's really not a very big deal. And of course on the back, the final stages and the paint schemes, as well as all the markings that you will be needing. And it's cool that they actually printed this part in color, because you know, they didn't skip out on just black and white, because it does look good. So yeah, that's how it looks. So back to the studio then. What do I think about this model? Well, I think it's pretty good value for money. If you're nostalgic and you're from Europe, you definitely want to build this, because you know, why not? It's a historical car. I think it's already classified as an old car, an Oldsmobile. Yeah, I think it's called like that. So with a price tag of 28 euros, it's really not that expensive. And I've counted, it's around 90-ish parts. Some parts doubled and some parts are not included in this one because they're part of this rally version. So it's around 90 parts, which is not that heavy. And again, I think even a beginner can tackle this one with no problem at all. Quality wise, it could be better, I must admit, but you know, it's Italian, so, well, the kit is Italian, but the car is French, so neighbors. Thank you so very much for watching. If you haven't, thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you again soon in the next one. Bye bye.